Hello, and welcome to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises an animatic with a little help from our audience, and we learn about the craft of storyboarding along the way. This is an improv art stream that runs on audience suggestions. So, Mike, what kind of prompts are we looking for today?
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Doing good.
We are looking for characters, probably one or two. Then we're looking for a setting to put them in and a conflict between them or between them and the environment, or we're open to your suggestions on that. What kind of conflicts do you see in your life that you want to see portrayed on the screen? Who knows?
Excellent. So everybody, feel free to jump in the comments and type in what you'd like to see. It might just show up on the screen here. We look forward to seeing what you're looking forward to seeing today.
So, Matt, we've known each other for how long now?
I think it was like 2015. We met each other at a comic convention.
So it was at I think CTNX, or was it San Diego Comic Con?
It was actually Salt Lake, the comic convention they used to have there.
That's right. Forgot about that one. Yeah, that was fun.
You did an awesome panel, and you're like, "Are there any animators out there?" And I like raised both of my hands in the audience. So excited.
Yeah. So I find panel discussions to be quite interesting because so many people have such a different take on the way that they operate, the way they do things. And I think there's a lot of room for that sort of mental diversity when it comes to, I think about storytelling this way, or I think about storytelling that way. Because on that panel, we had like several novelists.
Yeah.
I think that, and there was one like visual development artist, and he kept trying to hijack the conversation. There was a couple of hijackers in that panel.
Yeah,
because one of the novelists was trying to hijack the panel and like drive all the traffic to his booth. I think.
Yeah.
Come visit me at my booth and get my new book, and we're just all like, "Really, dude? Really? We're just was that what you're doing, dude?" But yeah, so I remember when we were talking about like your animation journey when we first started talking about things, and now you've become one of the like I guess a top voice in the rigging community as far as Toon Boom Harmony goes, which is kind of awesome to watch and see. But like when we started talking about doing the show together for this month with the theme being rigging, I was like, all right, Matt, you got to come on. And because we did that one that was Shark Durfer.
Yeah.
So in the Toon Boom learning portal, I got to work on some stuff for them. And we did there was one character that was like stargazing. And then the other one was like that shark that was watching the sports ball game. Yeah. Unidentified sport because he was a shark. So it could be probably water polo. But that's a different version of water polo, I think. But yeah, I mean, so I did the boards for Shark Durfer, and then we did boards for the other ones, and then you rigged and animated them, right?
Yeah, I rigged them, and I helped write some training materials that we used to train people to do rigging with. And then we had some cutout animation courses that were put together to use those characters also. So yeah, that was fun. I'd say like big takeaway I got from you that first time we met is I showed you all of the Toon Boom stuff that I'd learned all on my own without going to any schooling or any formal training. And you're like, Matt, you've got some good effort here, and you would benefit a lot from going back to paper. And I was like, show me why. And you showed me how to flip drawings. Like you were just using a clipboard and showed me how to flip them. And it was just like mind blowing for me to see that. And I was so excited to go home and find stuff so I could start doing paper stuff and then take what I learned from the paper back into the rigs and cut out attempts that I was making. And anyway, you've been a key help along my way of helping me learn and giving me feedback that's helped a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that when you're coming up and doing art that's going to be like a production art like this. I think when you're in production, digital is definitely the way to go. But when you're learning, when you're first starting out, I think analog tools are great.
Yeah.
They're also AI proof. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for a way to keep your artwork from being scraped.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
Well,
regardless of that very, very controversial topic, I feel like traditional art and analog art, for lack of a better term, I feel like it's kind of a harsher taskmaster. And so when you make mistakes, it's a much more egregious process to get rid of said mistake. And so eventually you just learn how to stop making those mistakes. Yeah. And I feel like you grow a little bit faster as an artist. And then when you turn back to the digital stuff, you can just turn and burn because you understand. And I feel like, the way that they've set up a lot of the tools in Storyboard Pro and Harmony reflect that traditional process quite heavily. Especially with, like who knows what a field guide is anymore, right? Right. And so when you're talking about 12 field, 16 field, and people are like, what's that? It's like, well, back when we were on paper, you'd have a field guide, and if you're trying to do any sort of camera move, you'd say, well, I want the frame size to be this big, and then I want that to go from here to here, and so you'd have to plot out the field guide. So I want an 8 field to a 10 field pullout from this coordinate onto that coordinate. That's why there's grids. There's coordinates that you would go to. So the things you don't really need anymore with digital, but good to know.
But it's so nice that we've got these tools that are made for us to conveniently do that with Storyboard Pro and Harmony. And we've got some stuff coming in from the audience. We're excited to see Mike get putting the stylus to the screen there. Okay, so Probably suggested An Angel from Hell. Play Me suggested A Witch Knight. Probably said Nephilim versus Humans. Woody Cartoons says Witch with Dementia. That sounds funny to me.
Witch Knight with Dementia?
Yeah, or Witch with Dementia, but putting
versus
in the night.
Hell's Angels?
I guess so, man. Let's see what we got a few other things. Trey West 92. My cat chases plastic water bottle caps.
I think that's more of a statement than a suggestion.
So. You might be able to work that in there, though. Like, I know you're a creative man. And Play Me says Matt's the goat. Oh, that's so nice.
You're Michael, a goat?
I'm a goat. Yeah, seriously. I've got these little horns. And
I mean, you got a polymorph thing happening there?
I guess. And a different language. Michael Friedman. Michael Friedman, I think it's the last one we'll take. Boy meets girl, boy lost girl, but gains dog. All right, so we've got resources here.
What about boy loses witch night girl and gains goat?
Yeah, that seems like it kind of brings it together.
I don't know.
Can we work the dementia in there with the witch night? That sounds crazy, but fun.
I don't know. I think we have to start with fire. I think that's where we start. Are we doing? Is the setting? I mean, we didn't technically get a setting. We got some implied settings, but I don't think we actually got a setting to work with.
Yeah. Anybody want to throw something in there? Some suggestions, real quick. Otherwise, we'll make something up. Maybe you could start experimenting with what this witch is going to look like.
So I tend to not do a lot of character design. Since we're talking about rigging, though, I think it might be good to like kind of put together a little bit of a design, something that I feel like could be easily. So it's a knight, right? I think that she would have. She's a witch knight. I mean, there's the one from the classic, the Witch King from Lord of the Rings. I think we'll sort of key off of that a little bit.
It's a pretty cool design, yeah.
And have this sort of design like you know who that looks like? Actually looks like the Shredder from
yes, it does.
Turtles.
He's leaning
let's
towards
not do that.
Shredderism. Yeah.
I don't want to get sued by Nickelodeon.
Oh, those are fun
So
shows.
let's see. And let's give her. I think we could do something between like a witch hat and a knight's helmet. Let's see. That's sort of a.
That's interesting, yeah.
Or she'd be able to, hide the eyes a little bit.
Nice. I like those bags under the eyes. Give some age.
Let's see. And then, is that to Wicked Witch of the West? Maybe we do more of a like a version of the Evil Queen outfit from the original Snow White.
That's timely. That's out and playing right now. But that's looking cool. I'm liking that. Now? Isn't it? Or at least I was reading some reviews or something. But
I knew it was coming out. I kind of stopped paying attention to a lot of releases because I've been really busy. But
I hear you.
Let's see.
I think we've got some requests coming in potentially. I'm hoping for the
yeah.
Set. I see the little typing symbol.
So we need like a pauldron or something like that. To put
That's looking cool, Mike. I like it. I'm feeling the night vibe. And yeah, that angry witch feel.
Give her some sort of a staff.
Yeah.
That's got some sort of weird crystal in it. It's always a crystal, right? You got to have that weird crystal that's in your staff. Otherwise, not magical.
Oh, we've got lots of fun stuff here. Let me share with you some of it. Okay.
Lay it on me, dude.
The consensus is that we have to add a goat somehow. And let's see. Woody Cartoons, Witch at Night, seek help from Wizard of Oz. They think it's the wizard, but not. Play Me, we got to get a story with a witch knight that has dementia and gets a goat. Maybe we're seeing how that's going to work in. Play Me, she doesn't know where the goat is from, but it's because her spell that went wrong, clearly. Ooh, that could be interesting that her spell goes wrong. Setting could be Crumbling Earth, Oz. They think that they're at the gates of Oz, but they're actually at a drive-through. From Woody Cartoons.
The drive-through, I kind of like that idea.
That's funny. That's not what you expect. Oh, Trey West 92. It's a fight against recycling. That is interesting.
A fight against recycling. And
one of them could be a shapeshifter. All right. Well, lots of rich content, guys. Thanks for chiming in.
I think one of my favorite things when I was a kid watching Disney animation was the wizard battle between Merlin and Madame Mim from Sword in the Stone.
Oh yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I always really liked that one. All right, so I think what we are looking at now, and we'll probably, kind of change this around a little bit here and there. But
I gotta say this. Woody Cartoon says, "Which wants memory? Knight wants WD-40." That's fun to have some motivations for them.
So the like which dementia 40? So he wants her which
nice. Dementia? That fits in pretty well, but I think he just wants his squeaky parts to move smooth. But
wow, I mean, when you squeak, I guess.
Well,
so I think what we should do is let's talk about drive-in theater screens are massive.
Ooh.
So I went to high school in Riverside, California, and there was a drive-in not far from my high school. And one of my friends lived kind of in that neighborhood, and so she could watch whatever drive-in movie from her rooftop.
Oh, wow.
So she'd just climb up on the roof with a chair and like watch the drive-in movie and just tune into the radio station. It was like a little like AM radio station. And so like she could just go up there and watch whatever movie she
wow, like. Sneaky.
Yeah, so it was kind of a fun thing for her when she was in high school. So,
I am interested where you're taking this, Mike. You've got the drive-in. Somebody said drive-through, but I think that you've got ideas.
Yeah, so let's put some. There's some trees or whatever. We'll put it's nighttime.
Nice.
We'll have a couple of things right here, and there's the big screen. There used to be like these little speaker deals that you could, your car would pull up to the drive-in movie, and you would like put a speaker in your car, but they those are all gone now. So I think we need a broken one.
Nice.
Because that's kind of how a lot of that old tech went. It just kind of broke and no one ever bothered fixing it.
Yeah. It's always good to make the world look lived in and not brand new, and help you tell part of the story you want to tell.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of that sort of thing I think that needs to go into every type of art that anyone makes. Having that authenticity is really important.
Yeah, even if it never gets fully explained or appreciated, it adds to the richness and believability.
Right, because you watch different shows, you watch different bits of media, and the setting really matters in a lot of ways for various different reasons. We'll even put like let's put an old car in here. Somebody is watching the movie.
Nice. I like that car. Oh, it brings up a question that I have had for you, Mike, that maybe you don't have to answer it all, but what role does a sketchbook have in your life, or do you wish that it had in your life?
Which sketchbook? I mean, I used to keep a sketchbook a lot more vigorously than I do now. Right now, they just act as idea pads more than anything else. Because for me, that's what a sketchbook is. It's a collection of ideas. It's not finished artwork so much as it is. This is where I, just kind of get my thoughts going on. And I kind of just store ideas in that for the most part. So like, oh, I just had an idea that I want to do for this, thing that I've got going on, or I need to plan out a storyboard sequence. And so I'll go get my sketchbook and start scribbling. Like it's not clean art. It's not even necessarily all that good. Some people keep like amazing sketchbooks. Like I looked at Mr. Nicolas Bouvier's sketchbook. He had one at the IMAC conference recently, and And my goodness, it was like these detailed like things that he had done, and I was like, yeah, that's not what my sketchbook looks like at all. But of course, he's a high end designer, so
Yeah.
okay. So we've got this drive-in here, and I think what we're looking at is some sort of like, you know, I don't know, some sort of movie that it's probably somewhat innocuous, right? Or maybe we're looking at some sort of fantasy story.
Yeah, like you could totally like help play out what the world is, like if this witch is normal. Or
Yeah, maybe it's one of those like they're watching Macbeth, right? And there's like like
Mike.
the modern retelling of Macbeth, and there's witches, and they're all going over this pot, or maybe it's I'm pretty sure Hocus Pocus was influenced by Macbeth a little bit with the three witches or whatever.
I can't help but ask you, are you suggesting the drive-in should start shooting in vertical format?
No, have you seen those screens?
No.
Those were made for 4:3, my friend.
Wow. But
and so half of the screen, you know what? Just to placate your very, very sensitive things. How's
there
that?
we go. Okay, that I feel more at home, but I was interested. Like, we got people in here, they're saying that they like when Mike's cooking. You got some good stuff coming up here, so.
Okay, well, hopefully that kind of reminds me of a joke that I heard. Well, it was somebody's experience with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
And how he was around him, and I guess there was some sort of stinkiness involved in some way. I don't exactly know how, whether it was, something, but I could smell what The Rock's cooking. Because so this is what his thing was on WWE. Can you smell what The Rock's cooking? And he's like, yeah, unfortunately. Okay, so now this is widescreen. We need to change formats.
Nice. Thank you.
So we'll have these witches, and they're got their spell thing happening or whatever.
We have somebody asking. Play Me is wondering if you have a favorite TV show out there right now.
Say what?
Do you have a favorite TV show that's out right now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a few things like my wife and I will find some shows that we like every so often, and one that has sort of been kind of fun to watch was Silo. I think that the first season was a little bit stronger than the one that we're currently watching, but we finished that one a little while ago, and then we're just moving on. But I mean, I'm a sucker for a good comedy. I'm a sucker for a good action movie or TV show. So the list of shows is pretty wide and varied. Whatever just has authentic characters that has good storytelling. Like, that's what I'm into, is good storytelling.
Yeah.
So I can watch a lot of different things and find some sort of redeeming quality to it. But that being as it is, media comes in all different varieties and forms, and so you kind of find what you like and what sort of things jive with you. As far as favorites, I don't know if I really have a favorite. I just like to watch a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. No, that's cool. We have.
Just so if you ever draw a moon with clouds, never put the moon in front of the clouds. Remember, the moon is in space.
It's a very good tip.
Well, I did that once. I put the moon in front of the clouds. It's like, yeah, this cloud can go behind the moon. And my friend Ben was like, that's not a thing. It's like, wait, oh, yeah. Clouds are kind of like confined to Earth, and the moon's kind of not. So, all right, I think
So we've got some witches.
What we need to do, I think of this next part is have a little. I think we need something of a drift in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that drift in can become a flash zoom. So let's do this. I'm gonna take this keyframe and move it across here, so we can create, the zoom. And then I'm gonna chop this up just a little bit. So I'm going to go to split panel at current frame.
Nice.
And then we're going to have just a small little frame here. And we're going to do the same thing, split panel at current frame. And then have this be like right there. So we'll do like this. Actually, probably going to delete that keyframe and just move this over a little bit and then scoot this back. So we don't have as much time between here. So we're going to have this, and right now those are the same. This keyframe and this keyframe are about the same. Mm-hmm. But what we want for this keyframe, and if you notice, there's little arrow keys here to switch between keyframes.
Yep.
Now I'm going to take that C keyframe here. No, that's A. I want C. So I'm going to take the third one here, and we're going to zoom it in.
Nice.
Like this. And then on this panel, we're going to do the flash zoom and have, I think it's usually kind of nice if you can have a little bit of something to kind of help with the blur of it all. I mean, if we wanted to take the time, we could convert to bitmap and then use some of the effects tools, which is a great way to do it too. But since we're doing this sort of a quick, in a very quick manner, I don't think we're necessarily going to have the time to do such fanciful things.
It's good to know that that's one of your tactics, though, in your toolkit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do that will make this kind of work, go a little easier. But I mean, and you learn different things and you figure out different stuff. I mean, I feel like storyboarding is a very introspective, thinking person's game a lot of the time, Mm-hmm. I feel like to be an effective storyboard artist, you have to be a keen observer. And if you're even better at figuring out things, if you're a problem solver, that helps too, because if you can solve story problems, then you become a very valuable asset to any team.
That's a good tip.
So we got this little drift in, and then whoosh.
Nice.
And then we are going to cut this frame like we did before. We're going to split that. And then what we're going to do next is have a sort of portal open within the movie screen.
Cool.
And I'm just going to split that again. And then we're going to do this sort of thing. And I'm going to expand that slightly. And then we're going to cut it again. Expand it slightly. Add another ring. And we'll just, kind of finish that off. So we have a progression, right? Ooh,
nice.
Like that. And then one more time for good measure, we'll just have this kind of open up into this big portal.
You get a transition going on through it.
Yep.
Nice.
And
We've
then
got somebody.
We're going to duplicate that frame.
Nice. We've got somebody asking. I think I know the answer to this. But
okay.
Mike, this is from Play Me. Mike, do you have hotkeys to make your workflow in Storyboard nicer?
Yes, I do.
Do you use the standard default shortcuts or do you customize them?
Customize.
Nice.
I customize because it works with my workflow better. So one easy one that I've done is I changed the previous and next panel. That's always my first thing that goes is previous and next panel, because in the default is A and F, but not only is that difficult unless you're a piano player, but it's also if you switch back and forth between Harmony and Storyboard Pro, you're going to get constantly confused because doing that in Harmony is F and G, and so I changed mine to F and G.
Cool. Nice.
To make that a little easier for myself. I also, the tilde is a key that people don't use a lot, and so I map that one to my automat.
Nice. Glad you thought of me. Just kidding. I'm with you, though. I'm using shortcut keys all the time, and I try to set it up. I'm right-handed. I try to make it so that I don't ever have to look down at my keyboard. My left hand can just dance on the QWERTY area while I'm drawing on the screen in Harmony or Storyboard Pro.
Yep. I mean, ideally, that's kind of the situation you want to be in, where you're not thinking so much about what you're doing. You're just so good at what you're doing that it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of where you want to be in a lot of stuff. So, all right, now let's have our Night Witch. We gotta change colors so we can actually see what we're drawing here.
Yeah. I like that thought that you had there, though, that you want to be able to work so conveniently and without distraction that you can get into this flow state where you're just, in your rhythm, not thinking about clicking on stuff and not thinking that you're restricted by a computer that you're on, but just being able to express the artistic vision that you have.
I mean, I think the same thing goes for drawing too. Like, you're an animator and I'm an animator, and we talk about, the various things involved in animation. And I think that as an animator, you want to be so good at drawing that the drawing is sort of secondary to performance at that point, right? That you want your drawing skill to almost be out of the way. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about how to construct something like that. You know how to construct something.
Yeah.
When you draw it, you know what the motion's supposed to be like. You know what that goes. And so then you can play with those ideas of performance where you couldn't necessarily do that before, because you were still learning how to draw or learning the right way to construct a character or, for whatever that means.
Yeah, it's just like the piano player, they got to get their scales down so that their hand knows the acrobatics it needs. And then as we artists and animators do our gesture drawing and get practiced at that, then it just becomes natural for us to know all the shapes of the body and how the pieces flow into each other. We've got a comment. We got a comment from Reprobably. My animation coach told me that he is so good at animating now that whenever he animates something complex, it's like his eyes are just watching him do it without thinking, almost like watching TV. Wow. So he's like experiencing him just, wow, that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry, but your person has been possessed by a demon. Sorry to be the bearer of such terrible news, my friend. Good luck with the out-of-body experiences.
Oh man! So
no, I'm just saying, that's good though. I mean, that's what we would talk about being in that flow state, right?
Yeah.
That you're not thinking about anything but what you should be thinking about, which is, doing the actual work itself.
Yeah, I was reading this book about this person that was jumping hurdles, some famous athlete, and they were doing great until they started thinking about what they were doing, and then they missed one of the hurdles and wiped out. And they had been in a flow, and then they started worrying about all the technical stuff, and it tripped them up. So something to be said about getting into that state. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's muscle memory too.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna try and do a little bit of an upshot here, where we've got this witch knight coming through the portal.
Mhm. Now, this leads us to something important that we want to talk about. Upshots. Those are significant choices to make when you're making a storyboard. And I think we should probably talk about it at some point today.
Well, especially for those of you who are working on like rigged stuff. I think there's a certain amount of energy that has to go into anything involving an upshot or a downshot, because then you've got other rigging concerns that you have to be cognizant of, right?
Yeah. I would say that I've worked on shows where trying to pose an up or a down shot, I could spend hours trying to make one look convincing, especially if the storyboards were so loose that you couldn't really gain very much from them. If you have like a solid special pose drawing of the upshot or down shot, that makes it a whole lot easier because you can deform pieces. Otherwise, you got to be really good at drawing to get a convincing up or down shot.
Okay, so let's do this where we're going to create a mat on a new layer.
Nice.
As much as you can create a mat.
That's super convenient. Tell us what you're thinking right now, Mike, with where this story is going to go.
Well, if I did that, it would spoil the surprise.
Oh, come on. Is the goat going to happen? We need to know if the goat's going to make it.
Well, I think you're going to have to
be continued.
That's a to be continued type of story.
All right.
So I think we've got sort of this initial thing from this mundane environment into like oh crap, there's some otherworldly entity coming through this portal, and let's just make it a little bit bigger. So make her a little bit bigger so we see the atmospheric or the sort of the perspective of it.
I can't help but feel that there's an audience member out there that wants to know how you just made the white disappear so easily in that negative space.
With the cutter tool.
Excellent. Get that cutter tool, click on it, and then press delete, right?
Yep.
And as long as it's bounded by the outline, it'll do that.
Also, sometimes if you're doing one of these like drifts, if you add just one little extra pose, a lot of the time it really sells it.
Nice.
One little extra pose after the fact, as long as it's in the right perspective. This one is not, so I'm going to put it into the right perspective. There we go. All right. And then I think we're looking at some sort of over-the-shoulder shot, or maybe even an upshot of the Night Witch with her visor. And I think from this point, in order to get the story told effectively and good enough, we're going to have to skimp on the nice drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep, we just got to communicate the story and get that there. And if somebody cared enough for us to clean it up, then we could, if there was time, right?
Yeah. We had talked about for a while about maybe releasing these files for people to play with at some point. So let us know, audience, if you would be into that, and somewhere that we might be able to talk about hosting some of these files for you guys just to, mess around with. Might be kind of a fun idea.
Mike, I think you get very nice poses that you draw, and I am curious about where line of action and broad gesture work, or did you used to do that kind of thing before drawing? And it's just
Well, I think time and experience kind of teaches you a little bit of that, but also the study of just direct animation poses really helps quite a bit. Being a student of that sort of stuff. I think one of the greatest examples of that is if you look at some of the Chuck Jones cartoons. Anything involving Ken Harris has really, really good line of action stuff in it.
mm-hmm.
And there's some people that are like really good at that sort of stuff. So, all right, and then I think we need to have we'll tilt our head down a little bit. And here's a little trick you guys can use with existing assets. Sometimes you can just sort of shift them around a little bit. So we've done this on the show a little bit before, but it always bears repeating.
And you're using the select tool or the cutter tool right now?
Using the select tool. The way you can tell the difference is the select tool will be orange, and the cutter tool will be green. Like the lines will be green.
Nice.
Because right now, when you see this, I'm selecting it. What I'm selecting is the vectors, right?
Yep.
And when you select vectors with the cutter tool, they show up as being green. Again, we're not looking for clean, pretty drawings. We're just looking for good storytelling drawings.
Yep. Clear silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had an audience member say that they were happy to hear about your call out to the Madam Mim stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sword of the Stone. That was a fun movie.
Classic.
It wasn't it Bill Pete? Did he have a big part in that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His drawings are very charming. Very
talk about the goat.
Yeah, he knows how to communicate.
And I thought it was always really funny that Bill Pete had a pseudonym for all of his like children's storybook work.
Did he?
Yeah. He never did any of his stuff as Bill Pete. It was some other name.
Huh. I was raised reading Bill Pete books. My grandma would read them to me. I loved them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But he was, a very, very, talking about direct posing. That guy was like the master of clear staging.
Yeah. Yeah, if anybody's interested, Bill Pete, he wrote his own autobiography, and it's a really fun one. He illustrated the entire thing. It was like a graduation gift that my grandma gave to me. It's a cool book.
All right, so she's going to flip up the top of the helmet here. So we get to delete some stuff. She'll have it flipped up.
I'm a little surprised that you're not using the onion skin feature. Do you sometimes?
I guess if you want me to, I can. Sometimes I can. I mean, sometimes I do. Other times I'll just turn it into a different color and then go from there.
Oh, nice. Something that I like that you're doing is when there's a large movement in the body, it seems like you're trying to make sure that the other parts of the body move with it.
Yes.
I know that's extremely important to keep something alive and not computery in animation. Do you sometimes not bother with that? Like, do you sometimes just copy paste and move one part, or?
It depends on if you know, if it is warranted, you know,
Mhm.
because sometimes only one body part moving is super funny. Because
Yeah.
I mean, if Dexter's Laboratory and some of those other Cartoon Network shows proved anything, it's sometimes less is more.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. I
but it's a highly situational. Again, it's highly situational.
yeah. I teach I teach students at Utah Valley University, and a lot of the time, if there's like a large rotation on the head or on the torso, I'm like, you got to make sure if you're moving the head that much that the neck moves and the shoulders move. Like, it's not that isolated in depending on the style, right? Like the more realistic kind of stuff, proportions and human anatomy, you want to be more realistic. And then Dexter's Laboratory, that's highly stylized, you can get away with the comedic kind of stuff that it's more in cartoony world.
Yeah. And you know, style. I think that comes back to talking a little bit about the rigging stuff again. You know, your
Yeah.
expertise is having to sort of make sure that when you do your storyboards, that you're making something that's within the bounds of not only the style of the show, but also the complexity of the rigs you're using. If you're working on a rig show, because I mean, you've worked in a lot of different places. You know,
Yep.
Disney TV, Mercury Filmworks,
Hmm.
some of like the heavy hitters, you know, involved, and I'm sure each of them has their own kind of thing that they do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you mentioned just now was that as a storyboard artist, it is helpful for you if you're going to be working on a big production that you are aware of the limits of the rig, because that's going to help you choose what kinds of shots that you're going to be using. So up and down shots can be very challenging for a rig to hit without some really clear direction. And so, yeah, I've seen, like, working in some of the bigger studios, if the storyboard requests like a really intense up or down shot, that might mean that a character designer actually needs to go and clean that all up as a nicely drawn up or down shot. And it may even warrant that we go build a rig just for that shot instead of trying to make the default rig try to hit the shot. So,
Yeah, I can see that. You know, rig for the shot.
yeah. Yeah, and that's another important thing that I was taught was with storyboards, you want to work wisely. That's why we make storyboards. We don't animate first. We do the rough stuff with storyboards. But it saves us time if, as a rigging artist, we only build to the boards, is what they call it. So
Mm-hmm.
you might want to build a full 360 rig with all these cool master controllers and torso tilts. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's a background character that stays in a quarter front pose, that's a huge waste of time. Like, it could be a good exercise for you on your own time, but not on a production. Just build what is needed.
Yeah, if you're putting yourself into the show and you want to make it super awesome. Yeah.
Um, uh, Lebelgar is a user, and they're asking, how often do you draw realism?
Uh, hardly. I mean, you know, not much anymore because the demands of work just aren't super conducive to that for me these days.
Yeah,
But it's not to say that I've never done it,
yeah.
but I just find that you know anymore I don't.
Something that was on that last pose that you did that I really liked a lot was something that people overlook, is that the head was going up and the arm was coming down, like always trying to think of what is the rest of the body going to do to counterbalance the action that's happening right now. So it's easy to overlook. You've got some really fun expressions. Which that's another thing I wanted to mention is like with cutout animation, if you only stick with what the rig gives you and you're just looking at the storyboards, sometimes your work could look stronger if you do a quick draw over, especially with expressions and faces. Like we'll make
If
deformer.
you know what you're doing, yes.
Oh, true.
If you don't know what you're doing, you need to do a draw over of some existing rig. You're going to get a director who's going to look at you and be like,
yeah,
what did you do?
yes,
Why this was fine how it was.
yes.
Like, so you have to be in sync with your director if you're going to be, doing that kind of stuff, because like, I don't want anybody to get yelled at because they were trying to improve something that the director didn't feel like it needed improvement.
Yeah, I think you and I come from different recent backgrounds. I've worked in a lot of smaller studios where people are kind of new at learning the tools, and with them, they're kind of just rotating things around and hoping it's good enough without knowing the drawing, as you say, making sure that you understand line of action and how things flow together. And that's where I have found that doing a quick like gestural draw over to make sure that everything is the way you would draw it is good, instead of making it look very mechanical and lifeless. I agree with you though, like in the bigger production stuff, if you get a special pose that was drawn by one of these really experienced people, that's what they want. Do not try to mess with it. Just deliver.
Yep.
And that's something that I think is really cool about rigged animation and harmony rigs, is that when you make it right, when the deformers are in the right place, you can like make anything, like whatever somebody gives you that's a special pose that needs to be accomplished, you can usually achieve with the rig. Sometimes you'll need a custom mouth shape or a custom hand, but you can usually hit it with a good rig.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's put in we're going to put in a snack bar and then projection booth up here. Maybe
nice.
We'll put in like a little fence or something, or some background. And then maybe like, the sign or whatever that they have. Usually they've got some sort of flashy Art Deco from the 60s or whatever sign.
Nice.
And then, adding in some of the little touches that we talked about before, the little speaker boxes and, whatever that people had at the drive-ins and stuff before.
We got some comments. Tess says that they love the style that you're drawing in. They also like that they've seen my mat rig, and that I've got my own rig. Jeff O'Brien, he says, this is great. Thank you. Mike, I had a question for you with your layers. I know that you can choose to set a different default amount of layers. You can say like use the current layer setup as the default. Looks like you got about 7. And is this usually what you do?
Yes.
And then you probably don't have to bother with naming them, right? Like you're just staying consistent. It's kind of hard to read it on the screen, but looks like
so I do mine kind of a little on the old school side. Because again, when I started out, everything was still on paper at the places that I was working. And so like I kind of did it the way that we did it on The Simpsons was with A layers, B layers, C layers, and you try and keep them organized so that lower letters are always on the bottom and the higher level layers are always on the top. And it makes it very organized in the end. So that's what you want to keep things organized, keep things tidy in your layer setups, because that's going to really help you.
Yeah, because then when you're pressing F and G, it needs to be on the same named layer between the panels, and so it seems like
I find with the newer versions of Storyboard Pro that isn't quite as stringent. I feel like But okay, here's one thing that we need to do. This needs to be a whole lot wider and bigger, so that can really sort of feel a lot more explosive.
Nice.
So I feel like, you know, get, you know, that sort of like whirlwind of pillar of fire type situation. And I think here's another trick too. If you want something to sort of materialize, just draw it twice. I'm gonna turn off the thing, and then in the earlier panel, you just sort of come back in and start erasing bits.
Oh, that's cool. Just duplicating it and erasing.
Yeah. So we like, you know,
nice.
Then again, if you want to put a little bit of finesse on it too, you can, you know, make that just, you know, raise it a little bit. The other thing too is that you can kind of like take some of these swirlies and move them upward, so it feels like that's moving too, and other things can start moving upward. Fire always moves upward from the base.
Yeah.
So
nice.
And then we're going to cut to a new shot of fire. And I think we'll have the car from earlier just over here. And some people in there going like, what the, what the what? The little box here in the background.
Oh, I've got friends chiming in. Adana, hi. Play Me. They love what you just showed, Mike, with the materializing. And so, yeah, thanks for showing those cool tricks. I've got to ask you, Mike, so are you just, it looks like you're just straight ahead storyboarding, or did you like draw some things on paper outside of our view to kind of guide you with your thought process here?
Oh, this is all live. I can't plan anything if it's an improv stream, you know? It's kind of impossible because I don't know what I'm going to get. You never know what you're going to get in the Collaboratory. That's one of the reasons that I find it so fun, is that, you know, it's absolutely different every single time. And I think that's one of the things that makes it kind of charming for a lot of folks to watch. Yeah.
Well, I guess one of the other questions I have is, in your mind, do you have, oh, I want to do an over-the-shoulder shot, oh, I want to do a wide, like, do you kind of have a plan of where you're going right now, or are you just kind of exploring where you end up at the end of each panel?
Don't like that quite yet. I think what I need is a slightly thicker brush, slightly thicker head, slightly more cartoony face.
I think it's also cool, like Mike, with all your years of experience, it's probably become second nature to you to use like film layout knowledge. Like you're getting like foreground, midground, background elements. You're choosing like thirds where it makes sense for you.
Give him like a biker jacket with some chains.
Sweet. This is the realization of the goat. Nice.
Some like Ghost Rider looking spikes. If we had time to refine this, you know, obviously we would, but maybe not the pig nose. I think that's not saying goat. I think here we go. This is
yeah.
goat.
Yeah, that looks more like a goat.
Here's something you can also do sometimes is flip that body, then, you know, we're going to give him like an accusing hand here. I think we might need to widen out in a camera move because that doesn't quite look right yet. Get that finger nice and straight and in the proper perspective. This is a little bit of a forced perspective.
Mm-hmm. I like how much you are focusing on the story and how the characters are integrated in it. I have sometimes been storyboarding, getting caught up in worrying about all the detail that needs to be added to the background to indicate where they are. Like you're very simply telling us with those few details back there. Do you spend much time looking at layout and background location?
It just depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, really, a lot of the answers that I have for a lot of these questions end up being a little arbitrary. Well, not arbitrary, but they all kind of end up in the same place. It all depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because for every goal, the method is going to be different, right? And then sometimes you'll develop a method that works for several goals at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate to say it, but my default answer is usually, yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah. Well, here on the Collaboratory, you just have to use whatever you've got filed away in your mind, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not going and looking at a goat. You're not going and looking at old drive-ins.
That's why this goat looks so terrible. This goat man from hell.
Nice.
And he pops in an accusing an accusing finger.
Do you still keep in mind camera safe regions?
That's become less of an issue with digital.
Yeah.
I feel like that most of the TVs that use that kind of thing no longer exist.
Right.
Because I mean the whole thing behind that was the housing of the screen, right? So you'd have this screen in the back and then the housing on top of it that would cover part of the screen in the old TVs. And so you've seen the modern stuff at like different electronic stores and big box stores. The bezels on those are like so thin. So that's like never been less of an issue.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm curious if you got so used to it that all your compositions still try to avoid the edge of the screen.
Well, that's just good composition, though.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just good composition, unless you want to. I don't know how much how familiar our audience is with staging dirty, but staging dirty means you've just got something like right on the side of the screen right here.
Yeah.
You know.
I was taking a class where my storyboard professor, he mentioned how you really need to favor the upper portion of the screen rather than the lower. He said, remember back in the day when you were a kid and you were sitting in a theater and grown-ups were sitting in front of you. you've got to design so that the kid can always still see the important stuff. And I thought that was an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, that very much is. So I think we might have to go like straight up Spirit of Vengeance on this.
It looks to me like you're using the default standard vector brush.
Yes.
Do you do that a lot, or do you use a bunch of other brushes?
I mean, I have a whole library of brushes, so I like creating brushes too.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fun. So
that's cool.
And just a little. So he's gonna accuse the witch of her crimes, and then we'll have him kind of here, and her up here in the air, with her hair up all like this, and her staff.
That looks cool.
Have some background, and we'll make him, kind of big and stocky and burly.
Something I like that you're doing in this shot is that you're establishing the spatial relationship between those characters, like reminding us how close they are to each other and how they relate.
Yeah.
So is she floating?
She's floating in the air, yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Oh, we got some kind comments from Clarissa Paz that she likes my videos. Oh, thank you. We'll have like links to some videos I've made if you want to check out the links here later. Oh, Henry Leonardo's reaching out to us. He says he misses us.
Hey, what's up, Henry?
Hey, Henry. Wow.
Mutual friend.
Man, what a guy with so much determination that's just so dedicated and hungry to learn. Like, it's so cool.
Yep. I've worked with Henry on a few projects now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Dude, your recommendation actually, Matt.
Yeah.
That brings up a point too. Like everybody, we build these networks of people that we meet and that we eventually can work with. So I think it's important that you make good relationships with people.
Yeah.
Because despite whatever company anybody works for, chances are you're going to work for several different companies throughout your career, or go the entrepreneurial route, like some people are doing a lot more of these days. I mean, I started a company a little while back that we're doing some fun work. But all of that was because of a little bit of the economic downturn that the industry is sort of going through right now.
Yeah.
And my response to wanting to make my own content, right?
Yeah.
But over the course of time, you're going to meet a lot of different people. You're going to meet a lot of different folks that you can come to, rely on in certain ways. And, nurturing those relationships is always a great idea, because being interested in people is good.
Yeah.
And I think that in any endeavor that you do with other people, both of you should be able to come out of it on the other end having learned something and had a positive impact on the other's work.
Yeah. Yeah, like I cannot say enough about the importance of going to these events where there's all these creative people. They can be comic conventions, animation conventions, writing conventions, like wherever you can go to meet other people You can even talk to people on the bus that might have a connection that would really be significant in your life. And just, yeah, nurturing those relationships. I mean, Henry, he signed up to take a rigging class that was taught by me with all the Toon Boom stuff, that every once in a while Toon Boom offers these classes that you can take live. And then Henry was just so excited about it that I thought about him when there was a job opportunity, and it's been pretty cool the way that networking works. Yeah.
So what are we looking at? How are we looking on time?
That's a good question. So we got to wrap out at 30, right? Wrap up.
Yeah,
So,
we got total of 90 minutes.
Yeah, I've just been having so much fun. It looks like we've got 18 minutes left. Or is it 48? Let me just double check. Yeah, so we've only got like 17 minutes left. So, yeah, we got to cruise. But it looks like,
we gotta get a move on.
yeah, you've got a way. It looks like things are wrapping up. Something's going down here. Confrontation. I'm curious now if dementia is going to be involved at all.
Actually, here's one trick that I like to do sometimes is just turn this into a transparent color.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can kind of use it as instead of the onion skin.
Nice.
Reference guide.
Yeah, there's something I love about drawing with a blue pencil and then inking it on paper. It's very satisfying. I do that a lot on the computer. Yeah, with the time running low, audience, if you guys have any like last minute questions that you're wondering about, please feel free to share. And it looks like Belgar is grateful for us sharing advice on these streams. You're welcome. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. And remember, there's a lot of back episodes that we have of this show where I think this is like the 40s, like we're in the high 40s right now for episode count. So, this is a monthly stream. We do this once a month. And I think new and interesting topics come up every time.
Mm-hmm.
And we really like doing it.
That's awesome. I was just reading in Chuck Jones' Chuck-a-Muck book that he said he was so thankful that somebody hired him to draw pictures, and then he just felt very privileged that he got to keep having fun for his whole career, and people kept paying him to do that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, all in all, every time I feel like I want to complain about something, I just remember those, poor guys that are working, on horrific jobs, like working for Caltrans in the summer in these like big, protective outfits. And
yeah, it's pretty cool. We get to do what we love to do. I love that expression. I also like you're staying zoomed out as you're doing this.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel more comfortable drawing smaller.
Yeah,
especially at this sort of stage.
Well, like on paper, you'll do thumbnails that are pretty dang small. And I find that here in Storyboard Pro, the easiest way to do that is zoomed out really far with the vector brush.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't lag. I think
Well,
you and I. Oh, yeah.
If you enable the thumbnail generation or drawing on thumbnails, you can use the overview section to like map out a bunch of stuff.
That's a good tip. Yeah, as you're finishing that up, I just wanted to bring up a conversation you and I had about storyboard brushes. Kind of cool. Once you make Storyboard Pro brushes, you can actually export them as a file and import them into Harmony, or vice versa. And so it's kind of cool. I've like made a bunch of my own, but one of the tips that you had about that was that you want to make sure that the brush is light enough so that you can not feel hindered while you're using it. If you're using too many textures that are high resolution, it's going to like take 3 seconds for your stroke to register, and you just can't get into the flow.
The lag is not worth it.
Yeah. Which, when you're using this brush, there's no lag at all. When it's just simple vector, a little bit like a Sharpie. Yeah.
And I think that kind of hails back to when a lot of us were like working with those like storyboard pads. You got really used to drawing with markers. And, I was at a Comic-Con. Speaking of which, that same Comic-Con's coming up again in May. Ontario Comic-Con, which I will be at.
Nice.
Is happening May 17th and 18th. And, we're going to be having a lot of animation panels and talking with folks, and it's always a really fun show. But we were on a panel doing some marker drawings for charity, and my friend Dave was he's struggling a little bit with the marker drawings, especially live, and he was asking me like, how do you do this like this? I mean, I feel like I'm like kind of walking on eggshells a bit. And I was like, Dave, you really want to know the secret of marker drawing? He's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, you don't care. You can't care. You just got to go for it. You care, you're dead. It's like we were talking about with muscle memory. Like, sometimes you just have to just go for it.
Well, I think one of the tips, the mindset that you need to be in when you're doing marker drawing is you're just trying to communicate like the story point. You're not trying to get detailed, beautiful, hang it on a wall kind of stuff. Yeah.
Some people get that, where their drawings, they can have a thumbnail and hang it on the wall and it's still really good looking.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm one of those people.
Well, I think you're pretty close to it. But we've got like 10 minutes, so boy, we're running out of time. But if we can start thinking about showing that animatic soon, that would be good.
Well, we'll think about it. Show the animatic when I'm good and ready.
I do think it's fun that on these collaboratory sessions that you kind of present it as you would a classic storyboard pitch. Like you're not recording, you're not using sound effects, you're just pitching it to the audience.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that.
Something I do really like about Storyboard Pro, though, is how easy they've made it so that you can just record directly into the timeline if you've got a microphone. So you can kind of like make some scratch track stuff, and it's pretty easy to move all of the audio around. So I really do I like Storyboard Pro. The software is fantastic because you can export a storyboard as well as an animatic from the same thing, and then it's super easy to update, where lots of other methods it would be very difficult to update if you had notes to implement.
Yep.
Yeah, something I'm really enjoying about watching you drawing all these is that your story is always pretty clear of what you're trying to communicate. The expressions are communicating, the body language is communicating, all of your design background that you have about silhouettes and tangents is all coming through. It's nice. So yeah, let's get playing that animatic soon here. We got 7 minutes burning down, man.
Not
We got to
yet.
get this. The people, they're begging for it, Mike.
We've got to, Matt.
We got to do it.
That's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's like that guy in Toy Story 2 said, "You can't rush art."
Oh man, I understand that guy. I really do. That's how I feel most of the time. What you do on these episodes is insane, in my opinion. Like with how the amount of time that you have and all the ground that you're able to cover, it's amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna take this one and just copy it. Actually, I'm gonna take these two. Let's see, I got 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. Let's take this one here, paste it, and then I'm going to take this one right here.
I'm impressed how well you've been able to stay on model with the character that you made. Sometimes what I'll do is I will use the reference view, and like once you've drawn something, you can import it into there and reference it. Or that's cool.
Okay. I'm going to cover this. Paste that. Then we'll move him forward in space so he matches up to his other character.
Does he have those horizontal eye pupils?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. You're moving all the parts of the body when it makes sense to do so.
Yeah. It's all about efficiency sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Then we can even do this and just skew it back a little bit.
Yeah, and then it makes it look so much more organic and alive. Less like it was a computer-assisted drawing. Eyebrows and shoulders, man. People need to remember to use those.
Yep.
We've got like 3.5 minutes, so.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
So worried about nothing.
I like that it's okay to just scribble in the black and not have to use the paint bucket. That works.
Okay. Then let's see. Got one more shot, and then we'll be ready to show.
All right.
Oh, I don't know if for some reason it pasted the wrong shot.
Oops.
So let's copy that one and go to the end, and then we'll paste it here. Okay, there we go. And then this, straighten out this, hands down. And then
It's awesome to see what you can get out of so few strokes. Practice, practice, practice.
okay. Whoops, that was not the shift button.
We got like 1.5 minutes.
Oh, yes, I know.
Proves it.
Okay. All right. So we are starting in. The important thing is to go to camera view. We have to go to camera view first.
Yes.
First order of business. Okay. So we are going to drift in on a drive-in movie theater with toil. What is it? Trouble, burning, bubble. Fire burn and yada yada yada, and then we hear a whoom as this portal opens, and coming through is this witch knight.
Nice.
Freedom. Then she says, "Wait, why am I here again? Where am I?" She looks around as you hear this like sizzling sound, and then she looks over and this goat, Hell's Angel, appears, and he moves forward and said, "Foul witch, did you think you could escape the damnation of hell?" And she says, What? I'm kind of at a loss. I don't exactly know what you're talking about. Sorry. What? You remember? You? She's like, yeah. Dementia. No, donk. I hardly remember a thing anymore. And she's like, wait, does that include me? You don't remember me? And then he starts to like tear up, and she's like, yeah, sorry, I really don't. And he runs away. Like, that was weird.
Good job, Mike. That was fun. And everybody, thank you for your participation. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so Mike, thanks for joining us once again for Collaboratory. Do you have any projects or topics you'd like us to draw our attention to?
Well, again, Ontario Comic-Con coming up, Ontario, California, not Canada. We are going to be there May 17th and 18th. It's going to be a really great show. Look it up online. Again, Ontario Comic-Con Revolution. I think it's comicconrevolution.org. But check it out. Do a search for it. It's going to be an awesome show. I've been part of it for since its inception, and it's rad.
Nice. Thanks, Mike. I've got a YouTube channel, Matt Watts Art. I've got 30 hours of showing you how to make a full 360 rig. I call it the baked potato rigging course. So if you guys are interested in rigging, that's a resource for you. But thank you to everyone who joined us for Collaboratory. And if Mike could draw this in just 90 minutes, think of what you could do in 21 days with the free trial of Storyboard Pro. That is available at our website, toonboom.com. And you can find free video tutorials at learn.toonboom.com. I want to give a shout out for those videos. There are about like 5 or 8 hours of videos, and they are an incredible way to help you learn the software. I learned to use Storyboard Pro watching those videos, and so I highly recommend them. If you're looking for more interviews, be sure to visit blog.toonboom.com for articles about storyboarding, animation, and 2D games. So until next time.
We'll see you all later. Are we still on?
I don't know. But this is fun. Who knows? Maybe they're still watching us.
Shout out to the real hero of this story, Henry Leonardo.
Henry. No kidding. That was really fun to hear from him. Yeah. Man, Mike, your boards, that was a lot of fun. Oh, hey, Janelle.